Amir. Amir is a very outspoken Israeli that tells it exactly like it is, and that's why we adore him so. So, welcome to the show, Amir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I want to start out with when I saw you speak about Putin and what he did prior to October 7th. You had talked about the funding that Putin had given to Hamas, and there was millions of dollars that Putin had given to Hamas, and that you just put it out there and told everybody, and many, many times I have referred to your statements and tried to find those statements on the internet. In fact, I even searched for them earlier this evening, and I cannot find anywhere on the internet where it shows your conversation talking about Putin giving the Palestinians millions and millions of dollars just before their attack on October the 7th. So if you would, please tell our viewers what you said that night about the money that Putin had given to the Palestinians, and that basically the Palestinians were a proxy for Russia and so on and so forth. I'll let you go from there.
Right. Thank you, Lee. So to be clear, what we're facing is not one enemy or two enemies. It's the axis of evil, really. It's a whole alliance of bad players, some of them being more or less loosely associated with the others. So Russia is one of them. Of course, Iran, North Korea, China, and their respective proxies, whether it's Venezuela, Belarus, etc., etc. But we're talking about one loose alliance. So as part of this, Russia has given financial, logistical, and political support to Hamas and to all of the other allies of Iran and of the axis of evil, if you want. So, Israel has done a lot of fighting in the Gaza Strip over the past 20 months or so. We have taken a lot of loot in terms of weapons. And what we can see now is that most of these weapons are Russian weapons, not all of them, but the majority of these weapons are coming from Russia. And there's a reason for that, of course. So you also can see that Russia has been giving consistent political support to Hamas. You've seen it even recently when Putin went out of his way to thank Hamas for their so-called flexibility in negotiation. And it's astounding. One point that needs to be added, though, is that over the past week or so, it's clear that it seems that Russia has let down Iran. They are not intervening in this conflict for the very simple reason that they are scared. Russia is a bully, and when they are confronted with force, they are scared. And what Israel has shown is an astounding military dominance and air supremacy, and Russians are scared, so they are pulling off. They are, being careful. Which just shows what is the right way to deal with the Putin regime, is with overwhelming force and showing them that it is not in their interest to attack the interest of the United States, of Israel, or any of other freedom-loving countries. What we need to show is deterrence and strength, and as famously President Reagan used to say, peace through strength. And this is also what President Trump has said, and this is what Prime Minister Netanyahu has said, and this is what all freedom-loving people should say and understand. Being weak is not good. Being weak is an invitation for bullies like Iran, like Russia and others to attack us and harm us. We need to be strong, and we need to deter these people.
All right, so get into the funds. You had talked about the transfer of actual monies cash money
Right.
that Putin
Right.
had sent. And that was, and by the way, we were talking just a moment ago about the Russians, and I'm going to switch over to the map here real quick to show you. There was an IL-76 that just flew over Lithuania and got down to 250 feet of altitude and just disappeared off of the map. This is something we have never seen before. We don't know if the Russians are now starting something with Lithuania. We've been tracking the Russian buildup along the Baltics. We've watched hundreds of aircraft, bombers, fighter jets, armored personnel carriers, all kinds of things lining up against the Baltic states. We know that over 150,000 troops have been moved in through Russia up against the Baltic states. We've tracked the flights every day. We track the training and so on and so forth. And so we're not sure what's going on there this morning with this aircraft. But I just wanted to make note of that and let you be aware that's breaking news as we're speaking, that this IL-76 just flew over Lithuania. So that's not a common thing, especially it flew over Lithuania at only 2,600 feet. So that's pretty low. So anyway, let's get back to the money. So you had talked about the fact that Putin had actually given cash, had sent it through an app. So go from there.
Yes, there was some sort of a crypto exchange where they were monitoring, the movements of money. And it became clear in hindsight after the fact that a large amount of money had transited on this crypto exchange from Russia to Hamas. I mean, it's not exactly clear exactly who within the Hamas groups and institutions took the money, but it's quite clear it went theirs in one way or another. So that's one very possible way of seeing that there was a transfer of money, but it goes beyond the money. It's logistical support, weapons, training, it's political support. It's whole cash is just one part of it. You have to realize this is weapons, as I said, weapons, training, logistics, political, and money all together. And not everything can be tracked, and some things which we believe, one way can be something else. All of this is a bit murky, but it's clear, and there's no doubt about this. There was overwhelming Russian support for Hamas before October 7th and after October 7th. Up to today, we're seeing Russia being very deeply involved, so long as it doesn't hurt directly their interests. But of course, when they feel that they are in danger, they back down.
Now, we know that Russia has been supporting the Palestinians. We also know that China has been supporting Palestinians. And we know that Russia has support from the Palestinians because the moment that Putin demanded that a Russian Israeli hostage be released, that the Palestinians released him immediately. I mean, there was no question about it. He said, release him, and bam, he was released immediately. In fact, I think he's the only hostage that has been released that way, as far as Putin or any leader demanding that they're released, and one was released. We also know that there were Chinese miners in Palestine, and those Chinese miners were digging tunnels for the Palestinians, and that some of those were caught up and were also released. We also have intelligence that says that Chinese rockets were used in the original attack against Israel on October the 7th. Additionally, anti-tank guided missiles from Russia were used against Israeli positions multiple times, and they were used by both Hamas and Hezbollah. Some of those were fired from Lebanon into Israel at the time of the attack. And I said right then and there that Russia is supporting this because Hezbollah and Hamas having these anti-tank guided missiles to fire against the Israelis. Well, how would they get them when they need them in the war in Ukraine other than for Russia to provide them. So we've known, and first we assumed, and now with all of the evidence, we know that Russia has been supporting this. Now, as of now, do you know how many hostages remain? I understand that 3 more hostages who were deceased were recovered overnight. I guess you have heard that. If you would,
Yes.
Can you tell us how many was originally taken and how many are still held in captivity?
Right. So originally on October 7th, 251 hostages were taken. Out of tonight, today, after the last 3 bodies were recovered, we're talking about 50 hostages left. So 80% of all hostages have been recovered, most of them alive, thankfully, but a few dozens, unfortunately, we only recovered bodies. So out of those 50 remaining hostages, there are 30 bodies, and to the best of our knowledge, 20 are still alive. This is the situation in terms of the hostage crisis as of now. But everything you said before that regarding the weapons is correct. I just want to add that on top of direct deliveries of weapons, the Russians and probably the Chinese, but certainly the Russians, gave the authorization to Hamas to build weapon systems under license. So some of these were actually produced within the Gaza Strip under Russian license. But one way or another, as I said before, everything that happened, I mean, not everything, but a lot of these things that happened, of the terror that was used against the Jews in Israel, has got its source in Russia, financially, logistically, politically, diplomatically. Without Russian support, it would have been much, much harder for the Hamas to do what they did to us. And this is part of the evil axis, the axis of evil of Russia, of Iran, of Hamas, of China, of North Korea, etc. All these bad actors are working together to destroy our freedoms, to destroy the Jewish state, to destroy Israel, but eventually to extinguish freedom in the world. We have to realize that we're dealing with very bad people, and they need to be confronted, deterred, and vanquished eventually.
So I actually think this looks like World War II all over again, with BRICS and, being the axis of evil. They've all been working together. We know, we have documents that show that Putin has been planning to invade Ukraine and Europe since 2002. We know that the main effort to start the invasion into Ukraine started in 2010. In 2014, I was asked to assist the Ukrainians. As you know, my background of training U.S. military personnel, even Israeli personnel in military operations on urban terrain, and I really enjoyed working with your people. I learned a lot from them. Because you guys have more experience in military operations on urban terrain than any other military in the world. Everywhere you fight is in a city. Yes. So, you do have some open spaces, but 90% of it is house to house, building to building. So it was a great learning experience for me. So we continue to track what is going on around the world on a daily basis, and we continue to see the Russians building up forces, the Chinese moving weapons in to Belarus, the Chinese supporting Hamas, the Russians supporting Hamas and Hezbollah. And the continuation of this, and the Russians have called for the extermination of Israel, and they are working with Iran. They are working with other countries to completely exterminate Israel, and we are aware of this. There is documentation that calls for that. And I think it is very concerning to not only me, but the world, that Russia and the BRICS nations are trying to not just attack Israel, but to wipe it off the planet. And we all need to come together to not only support Ukraine, but to support Israel too, because this is literally a global jihad to wipe all of the Christians, the Jews, and the infidels off of the planet with the assistance of the Russians, with the assistance of the Chinese. And so, I commend you for speaking out and telling the truth and standing up and showing everybody what's really going on. And I want to, express to everybody the deep concern that I have for your well-being, Israel's well-being, and, the people of Ukraine and other people around the world who are suffering under this, what I call the beginnings of World War III. And I tell everybody, I've always been, anytime anybody's come to me and said, Lee, it's World War III, it's World War III, it's World War III, I've been doing the news for 10 years. And in that 10 years, everybody who came to me and said that World War III has begun, I said, you're crazy. It's not World War III. We're not anywhere near World War III. And my mind changed on October 7th when they attacked Israel. I believe we are at the beginning of World War III. There are too many countries involved in the attack on Israel and the attack on Ukraine and the buildup in the Baltics. There's actually more countries. I looked this up. There are more countries involved in the attacks on Israel and the attacks on Ukraine than were in the initial attacks of World War II. We've exceeded that. So technically, by the definition of what it would take to have a world war, we're already there. So tell me more about how Israel is doing. I understand that Israel has conducted over 1,000 strikes on Iran in the last 8 days. Thousands and thousands of rounds and bombs have been delivered to the Iranians' presence from Israel. And we understand you guys are being very successful. You have complete air dominance over Iran at this point in time. You think you guys are going to be keeping this up for a while? What are your thoughts on this attack on Iran? Do you have any intelligence on how successful the U.S. and Iran were with the attacks overnight, for us here in the U.S. anyway?
Well, in terms of the attack of the U.S. of last night on Iran, I heard just like you what Secretary Hegseth said. I don't have anything to add on that. It seems to be very successful. Let's wait and see to have final results, and let's hope and pray that it was successful, as the president, as Secretary Hegseth said. But going back to the Israeli offensive against Iran, I think it has been frankly breathtaking, astounding, amazing. I don't have enough strong enough words to describe how amazing this operation has been. I think this was very clearly described by John Spencer, who's one of the leading specialists in the world in urban warfare, but he's teaching in West Point. So he described it as being something like a kinetic attack, a combined attack both on the air, land, intelligence, cyber. I mean, Israel pulled off an astounding feat within minutes, literally destroying most of Iran's air defense, taking out the chief of general staff of the Iranian army and most of their military leaders, destroying a huge amount of very, very important military assets, and everything literally within minutes. I mean, it's frankly incredible. And all of this 1,500 kilometers at least away from Israel's borders. It's over 1,000 miles. And remember, Israel is a small country. This is not the United States. But yeah, we have reached, we have achieved, I would say, within 24 to 48 hours, almost complete total air dominance and supremacy over Iran. And we are slowly, and not so slowly actually, quite rapidly destroying their air defense capabilities, their ballistic missiles, their nuclear program. We're destroying, we are removing the threat, this deadly threat against us, against Israel, is being removed minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. I think it's frankly, I'm quite in awe, I have to say, to see how the Israeli Defense Forces, the Israeli Army, and the Mossad, the Israeli secret services, and the Aman, the Israeli military intelligence, have done such a magnificent job of incredibly penetrating Iran, the Iran military, the IRGC, the so-called Guardians of Revolution, which is really, if you want, the SS of the Iranian regime, the ideological fanatics who are imposing terror, first of all, on their own people, and then also on their entire region. And their leaders have been taken out almost immediately. And I think we're going from one success to the other, but we have to realize that this is a huge country. Iran is a very, very large country. There's over 90 million people there. It's taking time. It's not a short or easy feat, but I think we've done a great job, and we are carrying on. And slowly, or not so, as I said, not so slowly, we are removing the threat from Israel and the free world.
And you guys, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, another one sentence message just to say in terms of confronting Russia and all the other bad players. I think what we have shown decisively over the past 2 years in Israel is that most of these guys are really only paper tigers. What needs to happen is for the West, the freedom-loving people, especially in America, of course, which is the largest and the most important country. But we're stronger than them. We're much stronger than them because we are free people. We're not. We want to defend our way of life. We want to defend our freedoms, and therefore, and because we are free to have free enterprise, to pursue our own life and liberty, and happiness in our lives, then we are better people. And I think that we have shown that our capabilities are far superior to the capabilities of the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, or all of the other bad players. Yes, they have weapons, but that's all they have. And their weapons are also not that good. I mean, they're still dangerous, but frankly speaking, comparing them to what we have, it's not that bad. So what we need to do is man up, to be courageous and strong, and face them and tell them this is not acceptable. Your behavior is not acceptable. We cannot accept and we cannot tolerate you threatening innocent people all over the world. And therefore, I think that Russia needs to be confronted with overwhelming force in Ukraine. Iran needs and is being confronted with overwhelming force. And we have to do it also piecemeal in the same way that Israel has been doing since October the 7th. First, we destroyed the Hamas, which is pretty much entirely destroyed in terms of its military capabilities. Then Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Assad regime in Syria, the Shiite militias in Iraq, and now Iran, one after the other, they are being destroyed or weakened. And this is what needs to happen globally. All of these bad actors need to be taken one by one, destroyed, or if you can't entirely destroy them, certainly weakened to the point that they stop being a threat. And I agree with your assessment. Now, it's a question of discussion whether we are in Cold War II or World War III, or whatever you call it, it doesn't really matter. We are in a global conflict, which is not that cold anymore. It's quite hot, actually. There are a few front lines. Of course, Ukraine and Russia, Israel and its neighbors, and its in its wars, but potentially China and Taiwan. We've seen recently India and Pakistan and other places. We need to stand on the side of democracy, on the side of freedom, and we need to make sure to all the bad actors that there's an overwhelming price to be paid for them being aggressive. And that's really the message that I have for your viewers today. Being weak is not a solution, it's the problem. What we need is to be strong and to be willing to use our strengths to destroy the enemies of freedom. That does not mean, of course, entangling ourselves everywhere in the world where there's a conflict, but it does mean when we're being confronted with threats and with force to be able to confront them heads on and not be afraid.
Absolutely. And we can't be afraid. Everyone needs to stand up and fight against this tyranny that is spreading across the world. Now, you said you hadn't seen any satellite imagery. Here is some of the latest satellite imagery. This was just from minutes ago here This is Fordo nuclear facility. Now, for those of you who were part of our private stream last night, and Amir, you're not aware of this, we have a 3D flight simulator. And
Wonderful.
so what we do is we take actual satellite imagery and we load that satellite imagery into the 3D flight simulator. We then pay a programmer to actually take the objects, whether they be missile launchers, radars, artillery, whatever it is, and they inject that into the 3D simulator, and then we take military helicopters and we fly in and we show all of those objects on the ground. Now, for those of you who were part of that broadcast last night, we showed you right here on top of Fordo, we showed you these vents. And I told you then that if it were up to me, this is where I would be dropping the GBU 57s. And it actually appears as though, well, somebody had that same plan, because this is where we're seeing the most amount of devastation in and around this facility. The other thing we can notice is down here at the entrances, there really isn't any traffic in or out of this facility at all. We're not seeing any vehicles on the roads. We're not seeing anybody driving around. We're not seeing anything down here that shows there is any sign of life at this facility. So we want to thank Maxar Technologies for the imagery of the Fordo nuclear facility that was hit numerous times last night. I don't know exactly how many bombs were dropped on this particular facility. We know that 14 GBU 57s were dropped, and I don't think I know if they were all dropped on this one facility, but we now have, obviously, I mean, these are huge holes right here. These are where the brush and trees were on the top of the mountain previously, and as we can see, they are no longer there. So, your thoughts?
Well, frankly, I don't have anything intelligent to add on this subject. You're probably much more a specialist than me. I'm not, a military specialist at this level. But I trust the American military that they know what they're doing. I think they have the most astounding instruments on the planet, with these huge bombs, the amazing planes, all the instruments necessary to have very, very precise attacks. I'm sure that there's great specialists in the Pentagon who knew how to analyze properly and had great intel about the Fordo site, and they knew where to hit. So all I can say is that I trust them, and I hope and pray and believe that their attack was successful. But of course, I don't have anything intelligent to say beyond this and beyond what you said. I think we're going to wait a few days, and probably once there's going to be more analysis of this, and we're going to probably come out with more thorough analysis of what happened, and maybe the U.S., if need be, can do another bombing run. But time will tell. Again, this is not something significant to add.
Okay, the Israelis have had great success in repelling the attacks from Iran, from the Houthis, the missiles that have been fired over at you guys from both countries. In this last 8 days, there have literally been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. From what I understand, well over 300 missiles, probably closer to 800 missiles.
Over 550 as of now.
All right, 550. Because yes, I knew you'd know the answer. So over 550 missiles have been fired at Israel. And you guys have your Iron Dome system, which actually isn't designed for this, but seems to be working fairly well. You also have your David Sling.
The Arrow. The
Arrow
right,
is what you're using.
Right, the Arrow. The Arrow system is Arrow 1, Arrow 2, Arrow 3. This is the system that's relevant for the ballistic missiles. So my understanding is that out of all of these missiles, maybe some 30 have gone through the defense systems. So
less than 10%.
Yes, apparently so. Maybe a bit more, but yes, less than 10%. So this is a phenomenal success. Unfortunately, we have to realize that ballistic missiles are no piece of cake. This is not a small bomb. This is a huge, huge bomb. And unfortunately, we've had, I think, 24 or 25 people murdered, something like 1,000 people injured at different degrees. This is not, and huge damage. Especially in hospital, Soraka Hospital in Beersheba, the south of the country, the hospital has been terribly damaged. And this is a hospital, and it was a miracle that one day before the director of the health ministry in Israel decided to empty out most of the hospital, which probably saved hundreds of lives or thousands of lives at least. It was an amazing decision. Especially in terms of timing, but it was a great decision. But these people are not afraid to attack hospitals directly and destroy them. We also had a direct hit, unfortunately, on the Weizmann Institute, which is a scientific institute. There's a lot of research being made there, especially on cancer, for instance. And unfortunately, we have labs of researchers which have been destroyed, and a lot of very valuable research has been destroyed. This is a huge loss for mankind, not only for Israel, but really for the researchers themselves, whose life's works have been destroyed in some cases. But this is this is a loss really for mankind. So this is terrible. We've had buildings which are going to have to be destroyed entirely because they are damaged beyond repair. So damages in billions and billions of dollars. This is not a small feat, but yes, we have to be thankful. Thank God for the air defense system of Israel, which have stopped the vast majority of these missiles. And let's hope that as time advances and as we are destroying more and more of their launchers, more and more of the missiles, their stockpile is becoming depleted, because on Friday afternoon, Israel time, the general staff of the head of general staff of the Israeli army, Major General Iyad Zamir, said that as we entered the war, Iran had around 2,500 ballistic missiles. Now they shot, say, 550, so that's, say, around 2,000 left, and apparently we destroyed around 1,000. So they probably still have around 1,000 ballistic missiles, which is a lot. And in terms of launchers, they had over 400, and we destroyed over 200, so half of the launchers. And so, but they still have 200 launchers roughly, with around 1,000 ballistic missiles. So unfortunately, there's still a lot of damage which can be done, and it's important for the Israeli Air Force to carry on its holy work of destroying the launchers, destroying the missiles. And my understanding is that we are carrying on doing this, but the more we do it, the more it becomes difficult for the Iranians to launch large rounds of missiles, large volleys of missiles. And the fewer the missiles being shot at Israel, the easier it becomes for the air defense system to shoot all of them down. So I think we're on the right way, but yes, we have paid already a heavy price, and please God, we will not pay any further price, but we have to be ready for this. So this is war. This is not a piece of cake. This is tragic. This is terrible. But we have to do what we have to do to protect our people, and I think we're doing it. We're doing it astoundingly well, and I'm proud and happy. And I want to thank you that for the fact that America is standing with us. It is not by any means a foregone conclusion. And I want to thank the president, the administration, and the American people for the amazing support that they're giving us. We in Israel appreciate it immensely. God bless you all.
Well, I've loved the Israeli people ever since I was 8 years old, when my best friend was Michael Goldblum. And so he's the one that introduced me to I guess Judaism or Jews and Israel and so on and so forth. At 8 years old, you don't know a whole lot about the world, but I got a great education from him. Now, I want to get into, I've heard that there are drones. You guys actually have drones that are flying over Iran There have been multiple reports that you guys have air superiority over Iran, and you guys are flying over Iran, and you guys are dropping gifts to the Iranians, or at least designating where those gifts need to be delivered by those drones. Do you know anything about that? Can you elaborate?
Yes. So I think one of the most astounding feats of this war is the fact that we really gained air supremacy over Iran. As I said, Iran is a huge country. It's almost 80 times larger than Israel. I think 79 times larger or something like that. I mean, this is a huge, huge country. It's 3 times the size of France, 90 million people. Israel is the size roughly of New Jersey, and it is 10 million people. So, just for you to have proportions about the size of the two countries. And Iran is around, the closest part of Iran is around 1,000 miles away from Israel. So it's very far. And yet within a very short amount of time, we have gained an absolute or almost absolute air superiority over pretty much the entire territory of Iran, which allows us now, and which really did after just a few days into this war, the Israeli drones, undefended drones really, pretty much free flight from Israel to anywhere, almost anywhere in Iran. So that's incredible. So you have these drones, which are relatively speaking low flying, quite slow, and they are defenseless, and they are pretty much flying at will above Tehran, Iran capital city, and other places, pretty much on the entire Iranian territory, which is incredible. And what's also amazing is that the level of intelligence that Israel has about what's happening in Iran is also staggering, because we are hitting pinpointedly people, pretty heads of the Iranian regime all over the Iranian territory, including I think yesterday in Qom. Qom is a large city next to Fordo that America hit last night, and we hit that essentially an apartment, in a flat in a building within the city. Precisely hit that flat in the window, and we exactly knew where was the guy that we wanted to kill, and we did, and we succeeded. We killed him. I mean, this level of intelligence is just off the chart, completely off the chart. So I think that Israel has proven, incredible intelligence dominance, air supremacy, which, yes, allows us now to have our drones flying all over Iran pretty much at will.
Now, I wanted to talk about some of the attacks that the Israelis have carried, or excuse me, the Iranians have carried out against the Israelis. I've noticed that some of the missiles are coming down in the area of your power generation facility. Have they been successful in being able to hit there? I mean, you guys have been great at knocking that stuff out of the sky, but have they been able to take out any of your infrastructure? And I'm very concerned about them hitting not only the power generation, but your water purification and water production plants. Those are key things to survival. And I was wondering if the Iranians are targeting those locations, or if they have been successful at all. And I know you guys are doing a great job at defense, so fill us in.
Yes, but they have also, they have to say that what they are doing is two things, really. One is, I would say, good old terror, simply terrorism, but this time using ballistic missiles. So it's ballistic missiles terrorism. That's one point, but it's not only that. They have been targeting strategic places in Israel with, unfortunately, a measure of success. They have hit refineries at the beginning of the week. I think it was on Monday, if I'm not mistaken, Sunday or Monday last week. Refineries in Haifa. They have been hitting. They have managed to hit a couple of other places with strategic significance. But Israel came into this war ready, and therefore we have not seen any disruption of services, whether electricity, water, or otherwise. Because all of these places are well protected, and there's latency, which means that even if one refinery or one power generator, one way or another, is being knocked out for a while, which is what happened with the refinery in Haifa, which was knocked out probably for rather months. Well, it doesn't really matter so much because we have other power source, and the Israeli economy is very resilient, and therefore we as consumers, as the wider public, we have not seen any interruption of services, whether, as I said, electricity, water, internet, whatever, gas, everything life is working normally. So, we're trying to be careful because of the circumstances. I haven't been out of my home quite that much since that Friday, 9 days ago. And I'm not expecting to be hanging around too much or in the next couple of weeks. But I believe that we're on the way to success. And I think that, if we're measuring the success that we are having as opposed to the cost, I think we're doing a tremendous job, really, really terrific. And as I said before, the more we're going to carry on in time, the less their ability to shoot at us, and therefore the less the damages they're going to cause to us. So I think we're going to still have some difficult time ahead of us, but please God, I think we're going to be doing fine.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing a great job, and the imagery keeps rolling in. Here is the latest imagery from Fordo, and it appears as though at least 6 GBU-57s met their mark right here, because these holes are much larger than the ventilation holes that are here in the top of the ridge above Fordo. Again, these are the exact locations that I had pointed out last night, that if I was going to hit this facility, this is the weak spot. They can burrow down through and collapse in these ventilation tunnels, and it appears as though the U.S. has done that. It would be, in my professional opinion, very good hits, because these are the exact 2 spots that I pointed out last night, and it appears as though they have delivered 3 rounds on each one of those locations. So 6 of the 14, almost half of all of the rounds dropped in Iran, were delivered to these 2 locations in the top of the ridgeline. So I have to commend the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. military for their ability to drop steel on target and penetrate deep into this mountain, which is solid stone, folks. This isn't dirt. Okay, that's what a lot of people don't understand about this. This is a stone mountain. The Iranians chose this location because they thought it would be impenetrable. And with old technology, they were correct. The problem is, with new technology, well, that's not so much the case anymore. So it appears as though the U.S. has done a splendid job of delivering the munitions to the target areas. Now, speaking
I'm sorry, breaking news here. As we speak, in Israel, the latest news, and it really came out literally a minute or 2 ago, the Israeli army thinks that Natanz has been entirely destroyed. And as concerning Fordo and Isfahan, we're still waiting for a confirmation, but it looks good.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And we love the breaking news. Please interrupt me anytime with anything you want to say. Well, this is your show. We brought you on because we love what you say, which is the truth. That's what we're all about here at KLW World News. And we love the fact that you're outspoken and you're not ashamed or afraid to tell it like it is. And you're welcome.
Why should we? May I ask a question? Why should we be afraid or ashamed to say the truth? The truth is the truth. We have to say the truth, whether because it's the truth, not because we like it, we dislike it. We just have to say it the way it is.
And we agree with you 100%. And a lot of people don't like the truth. My saying on it is everybody wants to hear the truth until it's about them. And so, our goal is to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We say
Exactly.
Our motto is real news in real time with no BS. We want the world to know the truth. And a lot of people don't like that. They don't like the fact that we're a little brass or that I put in colorful metaphors from time to time. But anybody that has a lot of military experience has a lot of colorful metaphors to go with it. Now, I want to go from all of the weapons that we've been talking about to your newest weapon system. And I'm not talking about a Jewish space laser. I'm talking about the laser system that you guys have to shoot down artillery rounds and drones. I understand.
Right, this is amazing.
Yes, it is. And that's why I want you to go into that in detail, or as much as you can tell us.
Right. So the Israeli army has revealed very recently, I'm talking about a couple of weeks ago, that Israel has started operational use of a laser whose goal is to shoot down at this stage anything pretty much in the air. And it's not yet for ballistic missiles. For smaller, it's rather for smaller goals, targets like drones. But this was already used in real life. In other words, when above the skies of Lebanon, at the north of Israel, when the Hezbollah was sending last year, until last November, they were sending drones attacking Israel. So a number of these drones have been shot down, and this is history already. This is not, science fiction. So we're talking about literally Star Wars. A number of these drones have been actually shot down by the Israeli army, and there's footage. You can go on their internet site or whatever, the Twitter or Telegram channel of the Israeli army, and look at footage of Hezbollah drones, which are really Iranian drones, Russian drones, being shot down by laser. Now, this was, if you want a proof of concept, this is just the beginning. My understanding is that later this year, again, within the next 6 months, these systems are going to be deployed operationally on a much, much wider scale. And there are still, of course, issues which are going to, we're going to need to be able to deal with these issues. But I think the future is here already. This is already not science fiction. We're talking about actual lasers being used in operational theaters against actual combat drones, and these drones being successfully shot out of the skies. I mean, that's amazing. So this is the news. I mean, it's been published a couple of weeks ago by the Israeli army. I encourage everyone who's interested in the subject to go and look at it. It's fascinating.
And you guys are actually leading the way in that. The U.S. has a laser system, but it's, how should we say, still in its infancy, a little bit beyond the drawing board. The Chinese have now deployed a counter laser system or counter UAV system that uses a laser to shoot down UAVs. They've deployed that in the eastern part of Ukraine to help protect the Russians from the Ukrainian drones. The only problem is they forgot to paint it green. It's bright white, so there's this giant white elephant of a laser out on the battlefield. I don't think that's going to survive long with the intelligence that the Ukrainians have, but the Chinese are trying to do this. My only recommendation to you guys is make sure that those lasers have their own power generation and battery backup system in the event that the grid goes down, that they can continue to.
I mean, I don't know, but I'm quite sure that the Israeli army is aware of all these issues. Again, this is a work in progress. You have to realize this is a very, very new system. This is the first in the world that it was tested on the battlefield, and there's a lot of room for progress, but I mean, look at where the world is now. And if you ask me, within the next few years, these systems are going to be able to be stronger, more and more powerful, and be able to eventually shoot down planes, shoot down pretty much everything coming out of the sky. So we're talking about, for instance, even ballistic missiles, the sort of which Iran has been shooting at us over the past 10 days. It's not for now, but it's a few years from now, we're talking about these systems being strong enough to be able to shoot down these missiles, which is astounding. So there's the air defense of Israel is the best in the world, and we're improving it every day. Of course, it doesn't mean that there are no challenges. Our enemies are not stupid. They are also advancing and progressing and creating more and more lethal weapons. But I think that the laser is another tool that we're going to be using to protect our country from enemies. And I'm sure America is, President Trump said it, and I'm sure America will, in short order, close the gap in this respect and create a system which is going to be able to protect the American people against possible incoming threats of this nature.
All right, so I'd like to shift gears and go over to talking about the Houthis and what they've been doing to Israeli shipping in the Red Sea. And then I want your thoughts on the fact that the Iranians have now announced that they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. And we actually have reports of Iranian gunboats now moving into the Strait of Hormuz, as well as ships that were en route to the strait have now changed course 180 degrees and are evacuating out of the strait. What do you think of what the Houthis have been doing, and then shift over to the Strait of Hormuz?
Right. So regarding the Houthis, so the Houthis are a very, very, very challenging bunch, because they seem to be quite undeterred by losses. They're already very poor. There's essentially a band of savages with missiles and drones. So it's difficult to deter people like that. I mean, Israel has hit them hard. America has hit them hard, but they carry on making problems. They're making problems to our shipping. We're going to have to take out these people, but it's difficult to do it until Iran has been taken out of the game. So I think the proper order is to get rid I don't know if we can entirely get rid, but certainly weaken dramatically Iran, after which dealing with the Houthis will be easier. Eventually, we need to give air support to the enemies of the Houthis, which is the legitimate government of Yemen and their allies. They have to do the job. We can't, the Houthis, have got crazy stockpiles of drones and missiles, and they are hidden in the mountain, in the depths of Yemen. It is not easy. And at the end of the day, they need to be entirely paralyzed, their communication lines. We need to blow up all their refineries, their oil reserves in such a way as they can't use a car. And then once they are, they cannot move their troops, I think there's going to have to be some sort of an allied ground offensive there, led by the legitimate government of Yemen to get rid of these people. I don't see any other way. Otherwise, we have a problem with them for years, and it's not easy. Regarding the Hormuz Straits, I see now that apparently Iran is moving to close the straits. This is declaration of war on America and really on the whole world, because something like anywhere between 25 and 30% of the entire traffic of oil in the world is going through this strait. Now, this is crazy already. And this is essentially dragging America into a war, and not only America, but all of its allies. So if the Iranians follow through on this threat, and we're going to know, in the next hours, I think this is turning into a global conflict. There's not going to be choice, but Iranian Iran this time is going to lose because they are weak. They've been shown to be weak. And again, we need to confront them, not be afraid. And I think we can win relatively easily and quickly because there's a vast bank of targets which can be destroyed within a week or two. And when this is achieved, they are going to be, once their navy is destroyed, and it's not difficult to destroy the navy because, again, we have the tools to do it. We have the weapons. America can, within a few hours, destroy pretty much entirely their navy, sink all of their boats and their submarines and their motorboats, and all this can, it can be destroyed fairly quickly. Their drones are quite ineffective. So against boats, they may be more effective. But at the end of the day, with a sustained air campaign of a couple of weeks, I think there's going to be very little left of the Iranian regime, and they're going to have no choice but to stop. But I think if they are doing if they are really going to close the straits, I think this is a major mistake on their part, because they are also, this is attacking not only America, this is attacking pretty much the entire global world, international community. This is attacking Saudi Arabia, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, even Qatar, Bahrain, Oman. This is not something that the world is going to be able to tolerate. So I think they're making a huge mistake, and good. I'm happy that they're doing it, because we need to get rid of this regime, and we need to have everybody on board to come together as one, as allies, to destroy this regime. And now we're being given an opportunity by this mistake.
And you're right. It is 30% of all the world's oil travels through the Strait of Hormuz. And I also think you're right that we will destroy their flotilla, the Iranian flotilla in the Strait of Hormuz, in a matter of hours, just like we did during Operation Praying Mantis years ago, where the U.S. Navy sank half of the Iranian fleet in a matter of about 4 hours. In fact, the reason we didn't sink the rest of their fleet was we didn't want to leave them defenseless against other countries in the area. So I think this time we should go a little farther and sink all of them.
Yes. I think that now, if they're doing this, I think there should be no pity given, no mercy. Sink every single ship above water and underwater, submarines and surface ship, sink everything. And then destroy all their gas and oil refineries and infrastructure. It's actually very concentrated. There's some island there on the south of Iran, on the Persian Gulf, and you can blow up the whole stuff again in minutes, literally, and decommission pretty much the entire oil and gas industry of Iran. Again, maybe in half an hour, and that will destroy half of the revenues of the Iranian terror regime, the mullahs. We are being given an opportunity. It would be a shame to miss it. I think, this is really happening as we speak. So let's see what really happens. But if they're really doing a blockade on global shipping, no pity. Destroy their fleet, destroy their industries, destroy their drones, their missiles, everything. And I think if we go for a sustained attack on their forces in a week, maybe 2 weeks from now, we can be after that, because they can't defend themselves. They have no way. They're all talk and very little substance. Their technology is quite basic. They cannot face us. We're much better, much stronger, certainly together. They have no way of dealing with what we're going to throw at them. So we need to not be hesitant. We need to simply go and destroy entirely all these assets. And I think fairly, soon it can be over.
I agree with you. All we just need to do is take the gloves off and let them have it.
Yeah.
Also, one of our members pointed out that there is a lot of concrete dust around those holes. And that is a sign of a very good strike when you look at the concrete dust that we've had around the hole here and around the hole down here. So those are indicators that these rounds going down into the nuclear complex there were quite successful. So,
right. By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt again.
Sure.
As I'm seeing now, what I see is that the Iranian parliament authorized the closing of the Strait of Hormuz, but left the final decision to essentially to the government of Iran. So it is not yet done. I mean, they have now, from their internal process, Iran has the legal authority. The Iranian government has the legal authority to close the straits, but haven't done so yet. This is my understanding. This is what I'm reading as we speak on a news channel in Israel. So we shall see what happens.
Yeah, our intelligence reports saying that there are Iranian gunboats moving into the strait.
Yes, but they haven't. They're moving in, but doesn't mean actually stopping those boats yet.
Yeah,
they are getting ready for that. They are, but let's see. I think that they are upping the how do you call it?
Ante.
Right, they're upping the ante. They are getting ready for this move, but they're probably going to see over the next few hours or maybe day or two what's the answer, because from America mostly and the global community, because if everybody is going to come and tell them, listen guys, if you do this, all gloves are off, I think that they're not going to do it. I mean, this would be completely suicidal, but maybe they will do it, and good. I mean, I'm all for them doing it, because we really need to finish them off, and this will give us, if you want, a reason to do it, and a pretext, and it's justified to do it under the circumstances. So, fanaticism has gotten up. It doesn't only have disadvantages for its enemies, sometimes has advantages, and maybe this time they will be so fanatic and so disconnected from reality that they will go too far, and then this will be their undoing. Let's hope, but time will tell. It's not something we can say now. This is something to be followed.
Well, I just hope that they do. I hope that they are dumb enough to try to close the Strait of Hormuz. And I hope that the Israelis and the U.S. and other countries are smart enough to take advantage of that and do what one of our members calls reef cycling of the Iranian military by putting all of their vessels on the bottom and having the largest submarine or permanent submerged force in the Persian Gulf. A couple things here. First off, I really appreciate your time, and if you're open to it, I'd like to have you on more regularly to do kind of.
With great pleasure.
I'd like to do kind of like maybe a weekly Israeli report.
I don't know if I can do weekly, but as long as the war is on, I'm happy to do it weekly.
Yeah, so
afterwards, we'll see.
Right. Yeah, whatever you want to do is what I'm saying. I'm open to. And so the way we can do this is whatever time is convenient for you. Like even right now, I have 8:30 in the morning for us. So it's kind of late in the afternoon. We could do it in the evening for you, and it'd be later in the day for us. But I'd like to interact with you, say maybe once a week or whatever is convenient for you, and we'll have you on, and you can tell us what's going on in Israel, because it's the best way to get intelligence is from the people who are there. What you see
with great pleasure. I'm at your disposal. In any case, I'll be very frank now. All my meetings are off. Have been postponed. I'm not anticipating having a whole workload now because of the situation. So
and if you
I'm quite flexible.
If you would tell our listeners really who you are and what you do,
Right.
in Israel, because a lot of my people don't even know who you are.
Right. So in just a few words, so I'm actually a head venture capital manager. I manage a fund called Champel Capital. It's we're investing in Israeli technology companies, and our next fund is going to be defense tech. We're going to be investing in amazing technologies coming out of Israel, as you can see. Just for you to understand, actually, the Israeli military is based actually on the Swiss Army. Funnily enough, the idea is that all the population goes to the army for 3 years for men and 2 years for women, and afterwards, every year they do, I don't know how you call it in English, but they go back to the army for a couple of weeks. So that to keep their training alive, if you want.
Yep.
So most of the fighting actually now is being done by your average citizens, right? Who are working, they have a day job, and then when there's war, they leave their job, they take the guns, they put on the uniforms, and they go and fight. Now, this has advantages and disadvantages, but the main advantage is that entrepreneurs actually are fighters as well. And therefore, these guys have got firsthand experience of combat. And this is something unique that even in America, you guys don't have. Thankfully, I have to say. It's not something I'm happy about, but this is reality. And because of that, and because of the incredible entrepreneurship spirit that there is in Israel, then you have the situation where you have thousands upon thousands of soldiers who leave, when they leave the battlefield and they come back home, then they create companies because they see what are the needs on the battlefield and they want to meet and unmet needs, if you want. So over the past 18 months, you've had, 250, 300 new companies, especially in the defense sector, being created with crazy technologies. And we're going to be investing in these technologies and put together an amazing team. Anybody interested is welcome to be in touch with me about this. It's amazing. And I also have some spare time to do a little bit of politics on the side. I'm a crazy libertarian. I believe in free markets and individual freedom. So I'm trying to promote this in Israel, especially within the party of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the Likud. So I've created a group which we call the Freedom Caucus in English, if you want. And we're promoting the ideas of free markets and individual freedom.
All right, so considering what you do, I got a couple of suggestions for you. Being the former senior technologist for the U.S. Army, I would suggest you look at a company called Contrap, which is right there in Israel. They make a device.
You're most than welcome to send more than welcome to please send me the link and make me an intro, and I'll be happy to look at it.
Yeah, there's three of them. There's Contrap, ELOP, which makes a holographic night vision goggle. And being an optical sensor guy, I was absolutely thrilled with that. And the third one is Elbit, and you're probably familiar with them as well. Those are the three main companies in Israel that if I had money to invest, I would stick it in those three companies because the technology that they have developed is amazing. In fact, Contrap, back in 2014, delivered a surveillance system to the United States to test, and I was in charge of that testing. And that sensor system won second place out of 150 technologies. So the Israelis have always been far ahead of the rest of the militaries around the world as far as development of new and advanced technologies, especially for urban combat. So I will be happy to send you those three. Again, I want to thank you for your time here this morning.
Thank you.
The couple other pieces of breaking news here. Zelensky says he has evidence that the Russians are preparing military operations in Europe. That just came out a few moments ago. And then everyone's favorite drunk in Russia has now said that other countries are willing to give nuclear weapons to Iran. And I'll let you in on a little bit of intel. The Russians have been sending their nuclear transport aircraft to Iran for almost a year now. We track military aircraft around the world 24 hours a day. And we've been watching Russian military transports that transport nuclear weapons flying into Iran for almost a year. So we feel that the tests that they have been doing have been with the aid of Mother Russia.
Terrible.
Yeah. So, all right, sir, I thank you kindly for your time and look forward to speaking with you again. Folks, this has been Amir, and it's Weitmann. Is that correct?
Weitmann, yeah.
Weitmann. This is Amir Weitmann, and he has graciously spent an hour of his time with us here today, and we invite him back and hope to see him again. Shalom, my friend. Have a great day.
No, you too. Bye.
All right, folks. Thank you for joining us here with